What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Takeover Pod, where we go against the grain and keep God first in all that we do. I'm Jay.
I'm Dorian.
And we just want to thank you guys for all of your support. Look, please follow us on all our social media platforms. We're just so grateful for your support. When you get a chance, check us out on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on TikTok as well.
TikTok.
We are so just excited for your support. So thank you for all that you guys are doing for supporting us. Well, today we have a wonderful and maybe a little controversial topic as well. All right. It's titled, I'm Not Doing That. How to create boundaries for everybody. Not everybody. Everybody. Okay. So this episode will hopefully deliver every single person under the sound of our voices, right? Because one of the things that I have learned, and I'm sure you have, and so many people that are listening, is how people pleasing can be something that has a short-term great feeling that results in a long-term form of misery and bitterness.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
So can I throw two questions out to you?
Go on.
Okay.
We're going to see.
All right. So,
See where we end up.
so the first question I have for you is, why is it so easy to please everybody?
Well, I mean, we want to be liked. You know, we want to get along with people. We don't necessarily want to disappoint people. We want things to be, good with everybody, good with folk. It's just kind of easy to do. Even as we're children, we want to please our parents. We're looking to get our parents' attention, like when we're little, when we're babies, so it just kind of starts from there. And depending on the responses that we received in those, vulnerable states when we're younger, it definitely can translate to how we people please and all that kind of stuff as we get older, which when we out here trying to please people, boundaries usually are not a thing that are set up.
Yeah.
So it definitely goes together.
Great point. So question number 2, why is it so hard to break that cycle of people pleasing?
Because I've been cycling since I was a baby.
You've been cycling.
I've been cycling for most of my life. And now with boundaries too, I always think of people pleasing as one way. There can be issues with boundaries, but also sometimes you just have never seen what it looks like to have healthy boundaries or healthy relationships. So when that's not modeled, it's hard to try to figure out how that even works. But from the people pleasing perspective, how I grew up, it was always trying to get the attention of, not wanting to be rejected, wanting to be accepted, because, there were parts of my childhood where I definitely, dealt with those kinds of things like rejection and abandonment, just different things, so there was the desire to please when I was younger. And then it just kept going.
Yeah.
I wasn't brought up. I wasn't raised in anything different. So, of course, that cycle is just cycling through my teens and my 20s and my 30s. It was not until not too long ago, this whole idea of, we need to set boundaries, so that we can, have healthy relationships. That didn't I really didn't start rolling in that until, probably when I got into my 40s. Probably. So most of my life, I was used to that. And when it started in the family, it just spilled out into other areas. Work. I ain't got no boundaries. I'm, doing this, doing that. Friendships,
right.
Ministry stuff, church, just not having, just wanting to be liked, wanting to be like, oh, she's so nice, or, just wanting to be on good terms with everybody. And it's just like, you can't have boundaries if that's how you're trying to roll.
Yeah.
So it's hard to break because that's the cycle that's been in place from day one.
Yeah. One of the things I feel is, just what you're saying is that those people, like usually family, friends, coworkers, etc., a lot certain people are masterminds in manipulating you to make you feel guilty because they know that they've lost control over your life once you start to form boundaries, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I found, and when you start, creating boundaries for people, it's kind of like, like
you ain't doing, you ain't doing what you used to do, what I want you to do.
So you start feeling the friction and all those different types of things, So speaking of that, right, can you give an example in which you were manipulated into doing something that you did not want to do?
I mean, I can come up with many. But I'll just think of generally in times where there's been times ministry-wise with ministry things that, you know, something was going on. I didn't really want to do it. I didn't really want to be part, like, but because of, you know, my relationship with that leader and not wanting to, you know, tell them no or things like that, you know, I would do what I didn't want to do. Right. Now, those were times where it was just straight people pleasing. It wasn't always like the person was like, if you don't do this, then we're not friends, you know, that kind of stuff. I do recall one time with a family member, and you probably remember this, was very early on in our relationship. And remember, I was in the praise dance ministry.
Oh, yep.
And this person wanted me to come and dance at a particular event that she was having.
I remember.
And it was like really far out, you know, from where we were. It was probably going to be like a couple hours just to get there. And it was like a Sunday. It was just about, and the Lord just was not instructing me to do it, pretty much, bottom line. And she told me, like, if you don't do this, then the face of our relationship is going to be changed.
I remember.
Which pretty much meant, like, if you don't do what I'm telling you to do, we ain't even banging. Yeah. So me and myself, and granted, I was younger then, and I still, you know, I wasn't really, boundaries wasn't really a thing. But I still was just like, well, then shoot, if that's all it's going to be, then just let it be, face of the relationship be different right now. We ain't even got to wait because, you know, like, what is this about? You know, just because I tell you no, or I can't, you know, do a certain thing, now we, you know, it's going to change the face of the relationship. Yeah. So that was definitely something that I could think of where it was just like obvious manipulation.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a ton as well. You know, but I can definitely, you know, share, like, there were a ton of things in the church that, you know, I was kind of forced to do, but didn't really question, you know, so like, you know, certain events, certain services, certain things like that. And it's just like, you just do it because, you know, the person told you to do it, and you just shouldn't question it, you know, even though it's inconveniencing you, you know. And there were a lot of times in which, you know, my life was inconvenienced in helping somebody else that would never do the same thing for me in return. Oh. You know, but looking back, you know, I was just like, okay, well, this is just the right thing to do. It's the right thing to support this person at this event, or you know, go to this birthday party, or you know, go to this worship service, or whatever it may be. And I look back at it, and those same people who I helped support, never supported me back in return. Back. You know, and I think I had to learn the hard way, you know, that I have to firmly set boundaries, you know, in order to have peace in my life, you know, in order to know that, okay, I'm doing exactly what I need to do. I ain't going to be bothered with no drama. Yeah. You know, so, which brings me to my definition of a boundary, right? This is the Jay Jackson definition. Well, I feel
like we got to play a horn, right? Like, hear ye, hear ye. Jay Jackson's definition of a boundary.
This is the Jay thesaurus. The Jay thesaurus version, okay, of a boundary. and it is setting a firm stance on your life that agrees with God's will for your life. Okay? Yeah. So what that means is, I am not going to just do something because you want me to do it. I'm going to do it because, first and foremost, God has given me the instruction to do it. And two, I'm going to do it because I feel like doing it.
But Jay, okay. Let's back it up.
Okay.
Because there are certain things that you have to do that you don't feel like doing.
Right. But those are things that are not optional, right? So like the other day, I had to pick my son up from school because he wasn't feeling well. Right. That inconvenienced my whole day. Right. My whole work day got rearranged because of that. Right. I had to do that. But if my son calls me and says, I need you to pick me up because I just don't feel like being here, I'm going to say, boy, get off that phone and go back into your class. Right.
That's good.
I ain't doing that.
That is good.
So that's a great example of, okay. And I mean, let's be transparent. Do you feel like having your whole schedule inconvenienced? No.
Don't.
But if your child is sick,
what you gonna do?
You have to get them.
Which is good. So it's like, you know, boundaries are not always just, I ain't doing what I don't feel like doing. Because there are things that come up that, you know. Right. So it's not, because we can easily use boundaries and be like, yeah, that's my boundary right there. But it's really just because I don't feel like doing it. Not because it's something that's, protecting my heart and my mental health.
Yes, there are certain things in life that you have to do, but there are other things in which you're like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Like you just said, protecting my heart and my mental health. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I think that's a key thing. And one of the things that we also learn, if we want to continue to be spiritual, right, and have a spiritual context, is Jesus had boundaries, right?
He did. Oh, he definitely did. You always hear him going off away from the people, going to the other side. When he was in the garden about to go to the whole cross, he was away from the people. Now with the whole thing, and they wasn't up praying with him. He was off to himself.
Right.
So Jesus had boundaries. So it wasn't just like he was just, always all the time, because some people that we deal with and come across, they just straight draining. Some that we deal with and come across are manipulative. Like everybody doesn't have the right intentions, just like we can be selfish sometimes. So can others.
Yeah.
So we need boundaries in place, just so that way we can set a structure for health in our relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. So question is, now we keep talking about boundaries. How can we create boundaries to stop manipulation? Right. So there are 3 things that we came up with that'll help you with this. Right. The first one is embrace being the villain.
You like that one.
I love being the villain.
You do love that.
I really don't care what people think about me anymore.
Yeah.
The black sheep, right? And this isn't just a black sheep of the family. It could be the black sheep of, friends. It could be a black sheep of, certain community of people, whatever it may be. But the black sheep, okay, is usually the one who has the firmest boundaries. Okay. When we talk about black sheep, a lot of times we talk about, they just don't, they ain't doing no good, they trifling, what have you. But I've learned that the more I've set boundaries, the more people dislike me for saying I'm not going to do something that you wouldn't do for me in return. So I'm okay with you not liking me. Because at the same time,
like it ain't reciprocal.
Yes. And I'm at the point in my life that if you are not going to love me the way that I love you, the way that I invest in you, you've got to go. Right. And I'm talking about my personal life. Okay. So like, I'm not talking about ministry or anything like that. We go for bat for a lot of people that don't have the resources, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not talking about ministry or work, but I'm talking about my personal life. Right. If I am supporting you, I'm giving my all to you, but you're not giving it back, and have a consistent pattern of not giving it back. This seems one-sided to me, right? So standing up for yourself and creating a boundary, but now being labeled as a black sheep of something, it usually means that person is the one who's standing up the most for themselves and their own mental health, right? Their own emotional health. And they're not afraid or weary of somebody labeling them that. And I've learned that as the older I've gotten, because when I was younger, somebody being a black sheep, like, oh man, they ain't
that ain't gonna be good.
But it's like, no, that's what it is. And usually the person that the family talks about the most, or friends talk about the most, is the person who just don't want to be bothered with their drama and toxicity.
Oh well.
So we got to stop looking at, people being labeled the black sheep as like the downtrodden and all that kind of stuff. Shoot, some of the black sheep are some people you need to be looking up to. You need to be met by some black sheep, right? Now, not everybody is the most positive form of black sheep, but there are some people who's like, can you tell me how you stopped going to so-and-so and so-and-so and help me get through that so I can stand up, So yeah. So I just wanted to share that part.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
Number 2 is remove anyone and anything from your life that does not bring joy and emotional safety to your life.
I like that word, emotional safety. So what is that? Or what does that look like?
Yeah, so emotional safety. I come from a trauma-informed organization.
Break that down. What is emotional safety?
So emotional safety is someone who will not say things or do things or create an atmosphere, that can penetrate your mind, in which it can change your behavior for the negative, right? So I'll break that down even more. So if I am trying to create emotional safety for you, one of the things I'm not going to do is purposely trigger you with things that I already know Okay. Or an issue. Right. So like, I'm just making this up. Right. But I'm a very meticulous person. Right. I think you know that. Right. So like, if I come home and I'm like, why are there 3 pieces of rice on the daggone floor? Oh. Right. And I didn't even ask you how your work day was, but I'm just coming home like, there's 3 grains of rice on the floor. Somebody need to answer for that. That is not going to result in a positive dialogue.
It's not.
Right. Right. And the person who's at fault is me, is because, one, I didn't ask you about your day. So it shows I don't care about what's currently going on in your life. And 2, I also don't care about your triggers, which is a part of trauma and things like that you've gone through. So I'm actually not taking your emotional safety seriously at all. In fact, I'm actually emotionally abusing you. Right. So it's actually the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now, the flip side, the good positive side of emotional safety is, hey, I'll use the same example. Come home. I'm still meticulous. You can't change that. Right. But I come home. I ask you how your day was.
Yeah.
I still see those 3 grains of rice on the floor. But I ain't going to say nothing about that. Right. In fact, I'll just clean it up myself. Okay. And hey, everything's cool because I realize that triggers you. So I'm not going to give in and just in whatever, So that's a great example of emotional safety.
That was good. No, that was good. That was good. I like that. But it's not that, you have to, it's a thing of just like canceling folk and cutting people out of your life. Right. Sometimes that is part of boundaries, based on, where these abusive and toxic elements can go. Right. But it is setting a tone for what the relationship, what the interactions are going to be like. Yeah. And that could be in the nature of them, in the frequency of them, how it even happens. There's a lot of layers to it. It's a lot of layers to it.
Yeah. And just to add to that too, like there's certain people too who, you can't remove certain people in your life. Right. Okay. You might have some people living with you that you're taking care of. Sure. You might be their actual caretaker. Okay. How can you create boundaries within the household that obviously you can't kick this person out of your house? They need you. But how can you tailor the conversation in which is like, we're not talking about that.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it right there. That's a boundary. That's it. It's almost like you put that wall up. Right. That's exactly it.
Right. That's a boundary. We're not talking about that. Like I have certain, people in my life who are getting older and they're always talking about death and dying. And I'm like, we ain't talking about that, bro.
Like, let's move on to something.
We ain't talking about that. Well, what happens when it happens? We'll deal with it. Right. But like you're still alive and you're still functioning. We're not going to talk about you dying and crossing over River Jordan and all that kind of stuff like this, like the saints we talk about,
No, that's totally good. And it's not always, especially if you've never known about boundaries or that's never been something that was seen as you grew up. Like sometimes we kind of fumble through it, but the one main thing I think was realizing, for me, that boundaries were needed. And I didn't even know what a boundary, like I didn't even know what that was all about. But it's just like, this thing is kind of all over the place. It's like coloring outside the lines. You just scrabbling. Like it's just all over the place. Folks just saying what they want. They, this and that. They expecting what they want. Think you need to do this and do that, and it's just like, let's color in the lines. So that's boundaries. Like we're just going to set this up. If there are topics that come up that we're not talking about, or if we're trying to talk about something and that person just goes off. Yeah. And it's just like, hey, we're not going to do this. Literally. I'm just going to hang up. And when we can discuss this as 2 grown adults, we'll come back to this. Yes. Or sometimes it's some things I ain't even bringing that up because anytime it just goes real left real fast. And as we get older, or not even, just living life in general, the way that we guard our hearts and protect our peace, like it is paramount. And, there are times where we do have people in our lives and, the relationship is how it is and it totally skews us off of the peace that God promised us. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, boundaries are needed. They're not to be mean or spiteful. I mean, we could try that because it'd be like, I ain't doing that for so-and-so because they ain't show up to my thing now. I ain't show. We don't want to keep God out, so we can't just be boundary, everybody getting a boundary, God included, so that he can't even come through and just be like, no, you need to attend that. You need to call that person back. You need to, whatever it is. Yeah. But they are needed in our relationships. Jay and I have boundaries. We got boundaries with our kids. Like, when you don't just bust up in your teenager's room when he getting dressed, that's a boundary. Right. And vice versa. Like, they're healthy. Yeah. And I feel like as, mental health is becoming more of a thing, we're more open to talking about that and talking about, when the lines have been colored outside the lines. And a lot of times it do be mainly family, with family, and being open to discuss these things and to set things up so that everyone's boundaries can be respected.
Yeah, I like that.
And
the final point that I have is embrace the seasonal relationships, right? And how they transition. All right. Here's what we have to understand. And I had to learn this the hard way. I'm sure a lot of people had to learn this the hard way. Everyone is not meant to grow old with you. And I had to learn that. There were a lot of people in my life going to high school, because I went to high school and I had some people named my dogs, man. It's just like, yo, man, we talk about, man, we gonna be the best man at your wedding and all that kind of stuff. And some people I ain't talked to right after graduation.
It's true. It's true.
College as well. Be like, yo, keep in touch.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many phone numbers I got when I graduated from high school and college and all those places. I ain't calling them people. And they ain't calling me either. Because there was just a season. We have had ex, people that we've dealt with, ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
Season.
Yeah, that is very true.
Friendships, people that as you grow older, that you think you're gonna be riding with forever.
Yeah.
The seasons.
That
right?
is true.
And what we have to understand too is it doesn't have to negatively end. It is a season.
It don't gotta be beef.
No. And that's what I learned when I was younger, because I'm like, how come we ain't cool like that no more?
Just not.
Right? And the Bible talks about that. It talks about the seasons for every time. And,
everything.
For everything. There is a season. And I think that's really important. So like there's some of you right now that are listening to this that are feeling like guilty or feeling like the bad person because something ended. How about it was just a season? I know you felt like you were gonna marry that person. It was just a season. I know you were best friends with that person and you thought that forever, we gonna be godparents to their kids and everything like that, and it ended abruptly. It was a season. Some of y'all had jobs that y'all thought you were gonna retire. A season.
Yeah.
And I think we really have to embrace the seasons in our lives. And the older we get, just how it's kind of, designed, the less friends we have.
It sure seemed like
what
that.
I'm saying? And it doesn't mean that you're a bad person or anything like that. It just means as you grow older, you learn how to wear people loosely. And I'm not going to be connected to folk like that, like I used to back in the day. It's cool. All right, just run its course. It ain't no drama, So I think that's what's really important is the seasons in our life we have to embrace. You're not being punished by God. And guess what, y'all? The devil ain't always attacking you either.
You mean he ain't always busy?
No, because that's the thing too. Be like, the devil is a liar. I'm going to have me some friends.
Like,
no. You just you know what I'm saying, Antoine? Come on, man. Like,
oh boy.
Tell him again.
Like, come on. Like, it's the sometimes I tell this story sometimes. Sometimes the devil be laughing at us too, because he's like, bro, I ain't nothing to do with that. I'll attack you tomorrow, but not today. I ain't nothing to do with that. Like, you just stop talking to that person because
of you.
Yeah, because of you.
The season just ended.
It just ended. It just ended, and I think that's what we have to understand about that, So.
Yeah. And that's, transitions, and navigating them well. And through the transitions, the boundaries that you have may change, even especially, with relationships. If you go from you real tight with somebody, y'all both single, and one of y'all get married, or one of y'all start having kids and the other one don't, like there's going to be a transition in the boundaries.
Yeah.
So, boundaries, even though we set them firmly, they're always open to flexibility. They have to be.
Yeah. And speaking on changes too, very rarely does it come back around. And I know this might sound negative, but like if you were friends with somebody for like 15 years and the season is changing, you're not friends anymore.
Yeah.
Stop waiting around for God to create miracles for that to come back.
Oh, because I know where you was going.
Right?
I'm looking like
so like people that you might be best friends with from childhood, and it just transitions.
Yeah.
There's a reason why it transitions.
It's true.
Right? So don't think that that's going to come back. Right? It could, but it's not likely a lot of the times, because there's a growth pattern that God has designed for us, right? And there's a reason why that ended, because everybody that we grow up with can't go with us to the next level.
All the way to the end. That is true. And the Bible speaks about that.
It does, right? And some of the people who we were cool with may not be cool with your promotions in the next season.
Oh,
right?
Again.
Yeah.
Oh.
They may not be cool with that. They may not be cool with the fact that you got married. You got married before I did. Ain't that funny? You weren't really joking, were you? You meant that when you said that. What do you mean by that? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh yeah, I thought I could be the first one married. I thought I'd be the first one with a kid. Huh? Where's that coming from? So God allowed that to kind of just transition before you got to that level, right? And that's why a lot of times when you get married, there's some people who you leave behind as well.
Sure.
Because they can't handle the fact that you're married and they're not.
Yeah.
Or that you have a happy marriage and they don't, right? Yes. So those are real things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know.
That's loaded.
You know, so the Spirit just brought that on.
I'm like,
you know?
that wasn't in the notes. That's loaded.
You know, yeah. You got something to add, Antoine?
Nah, I was just in agreement.
Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah. It's natural.
When you transition from anything.
Yeah.
It's true.
You lose touch with people.
Yeah.
Life keeps going. Their life keeps going.
Mm-hmm.
It takes initiative. Relationships.
That is true.
It does.
But also, when you have something fresh going on, something new that you're trying to cultivate, you have to shield people.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right.
You
And
do.
some people don't understand it, and they get offended.
Yep.
Right.
And then this drama.
It's dynamic.
Yes.
Yep. You are
Yeah.
right.
And when you communicate it to them, either they accept it or it becomes a
they-
bigger problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
You know,
sure
so
does.
I mean, it's tricky.
It
Yeah.
is.
But it's necessary as people in general, not just believers, but people in general, that we really hone in on our spaces.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that you just can't go everywhere. You
Yeah.
can't tell everybody everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
And you can't let everybody in
Yes.
because you have to protect your holy of holies.
Yeah. That's
Your
good.
That's
inner.
good. Antoine,
That's good.
dang.
Your inner.
That's
You have to
good.
protect that.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Because nobody else is going to be there with you.
That's
Right.
true.
Right.
That's true.
Nobody else.
That's so
Just
true.
you.
Yeah.
So
You and the
if you
Lord.
let somebody in and they damage something, touch something,
Yeah.
do something, then you're like, I'm off.
Yep.
Yep.
What's going on?
Yep.
And then you're like, oh, I let that person
Yeah.
Yep.
do that to
Yeah.
everybody.
Yep.
They have
That
to
is
be
so true.
trusted.
Yep.
They got to have, what's the qualifications for the people that go into the Holy of Holies? They got to be anointed, appointed,
Yep.
Yep.
have the bells on.
Yep.
And if you don't, you're dead.
You
You're in
die.
trouble.
So it's the same,
Yeah.
you know, it's
Yeah.
that same principle. You know, when we're dealing with our personal lives, we got to make sure people can handle
Yeah.
the truth
Yeah.
that's behind Jay the worker, Jay the father, but the real Jay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
real Dorian,
Yep.
Yeah.
real Antoine.
Yeah.
Can you handle behind?
Yeah.
Right.
And not everybody can do that.
They can't.
That's true.
They can't.
That's true.
That
That's
was
true.
good.
That's
That
good.
was good.
Yeah,
You know.
good.
And that's so true. That is so true.
Yeah.
You know. So you know, we just really wanted to encourage you because I don't even want to talk too much more about that.
Well, see,
You know,
yeah, I'm like, that's a good little.
Because one of the things I learned growing up in church is sometimes somebody would have a good word,
Let it-
and then
let
the,
it- let it.
pastor would get up and then preach after that. He'd be like,
That.
Just
"Dang,
let it.
come on,
Just let it.
just let that
stop
that
there.
just simmer
let
for
it-
a little
just let
bit.
it resonate.
Let that marinate.
Yeah, no.
You know. So, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, like, hopefully this at least encourages you to look at your relationships, you know, see where you need boundaries,
Yes.
you know, see where stuff is outside of the lines or where you don't feel comfortable or emotionally safe.
Mm-hmm.
And really be prayerful about, like, all right, God, what do I need to do with this? Because
Yes.
God don't want us all over the place. Like, he don't want us all over the place and drug all out in these streets with folk
Right.
that we ain't supposed to be rolling with, doing stuff we ain't supposed to
Right.
be doing. Like, he wants us to prosper, you know, even where we're talking about our soul, where our emotions are held.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah.
where he wants us to be. So
Yeah.
hopefully this will at least start the work.
It will, and you will be disliked. So I just want to put that out there too.
Yeah.
You will be
Folk
the
don't
villain,
like the boundaries.
right? They don't like boundaries,
Especially the ones that trying to control you
Yeah.
or run stuff or be up in stuff.
because they've lost their control.
Yeah.
And once somebody loses their control, the next thing they can do is just turn on you. Right. So like I really want to put that out there as well. Embrace being the villain and learning there are certain events that you may not be invited to, right? Because of that.
Yeah.
But it's funny because you never wanted to go to him in the first place.
Go nowhere.
So you actually doing me a favor or doing that person a favor. So want to put that out there as well. But we hope that this encouraged you and gave you some insight and hopefully delivered some of you. That was our goal today.
Yeah.
Hey, drop in the comments on what you thought about this. Let us know, how this blessed you. And listen, we are just so grateful for all of your support.
Yeah.
So God bless y'all. We love y'all. Have a great day.
See y'all.